There's numerous people running up the hill alongside Elm Street, there by the Simmons Freeway. Several police officers are rushing.
From the moment the president was killed, many eyewitnesses testified that they believed there was a man with a gun on the Grassy Knoll. One eyewitness was Malcolm Summers, who reenacted his experience for Nova.
After the motor van had passed, I waited about a minute, and then I came running over across to the knoll. But when I got here, I was stopped by a person in a suit with an overcoat over his arm, thrown over his arm. Also had a gun under his arm. It looked like a little machine gun to me, a small machine gun.
Malcolm Summers was one of several eyewitnesses, including at least one Dallas policeman, who ran into people claiming to be federal officials and who were never found. Chief Counsel for the House Assassination Committee, Robert Blakey.
A careful examination of where all of the Secret Service agents were that day and their duty assignments indicates that no Secret Service agent was in that area.
I ran across the Elm Street to run up there toward that knoll. It was, and we were stopped by a man in a suit, and he had a overcoat on his over his arm, and I saw a gun under that overcoat. And his comment was, "Don't y'all come up here any further, you could get shot or killed," one of those words.
A man wearing a suit was sighted behind the picket fence at the top of the knoll. He was quickly apprehended by Officer Smith.
Stop right where you are. Don't you move now. What you doing here?
Gentlemen. United States Secret Service.
Okay, partner.
It's all right.
A few months later, they told me they didn't have an FBI man in that area. If they didn't have anybody, it's a good question who it was.
When I ran across the street, I was stopped by a guy that Al Maddox told you about. It was similar, we think, but when we put it together. And he was dressed, he was about 5'10", 6 foot, well dressed, and had a tie and a coat over his arm. Well, he also had a hat on. So he had a gun under his coat that only the barrel showed through, that you couldn't, it wasn't uncovered, it was just because I was running straight at it, I could see the barrel. That's the only reason I guess I saw it. But I was not the only one running across that street. It was other people, on the right and the left. And he said, "You better not come up here, you could get shot." And I immediately did not want to argue with him because he looked like a man of authority. I thought he was maybe a detective or FBI man. And I had seen these stories where they go around and protect him always, and I just assumed that was one of them, because I wasn't going to argue with him about coming up here, "Yes, I am," or anything like that,
How far did you go before you ran into this guy that you were talking?
Well, this person, he was standing probably about 5 to 10 feet from the street. It goes by in front of the school book depository where everybody was running, and the sidewalk of the school book depository. From the top of the knoll, he was standing probably 3 to 5 feet away from that particular spot.
And you saw the barrel of a gun?
Sticking out from under that coat. I mean, just because the coat covered it up, it wasn't sticking out. Retract that. It was just under there, because if you, I never really tried it, but if you hold your coat over your arm and you got a gun in it, well, then it doesn't droop over the gun or anything. It was just even or flush with the gun.
And this was a white guy?
Yes.
Okay.
Very well groomed guy.
Glasses, mustache?
No, he didn't have any glasses. No mustache.
Okay. And he told you what?
He said, "Y'all better not come up here. You can get shot or killed." One of the statement like that.
Does this guy have a hat on?
Yes, he had a hat on.
What kind of hat?
Stetson, I guess, one of them just regular brim hats. Not a wide brim hat, just a regular dress hat that I'd call it. Certainly wasn't a Texas hat or anything of that sort, but it was just a dress hat that people wore. And he was a well-groomed person. I mean, he wasn't, he's not the normal person that would have went to see a parade unless they happened to step out of their building or something like that.
Was there anything about the gun that you remember?
I described it to the sheriff's department over here later when I went over there to give his statement, and they asked me what did the muzzle look like. But when I described the barrel, it said it would sound like an automatic, and that's what I presume it was, because I didn't see the side or back of it or anything, just a barrel.
Was that the only time you were interviewed by any of the official investigators?
No, the Secret Service came out to my shop and interviewed me on 2 different occasions.
Okay, have you seen those reports?
I did see the report, or I was told how they were. The first, it was about 3 of them came the first time, he interviewed me, and they heard everything I just now told you about the fellow stopped me and all of that. And then they said, well, okay, I told them it looked like a FBI guy, Secret Service, or a local city detective. You know, that's when they dressed like that. And I said, that's who I assumed that was. And then they said, okay, we'll take a report and we'll get back with you. Well, I'd say 2 months later, I was wondering why they didn't call me sooner or whatever, but about 2 months later, they told me that they did not have FBI, Secret Service, or a city detective was in that vicinity where this guy stopped me. So therefore, they basically told me I didn't see anything, because they said they didn't have anybody there. And my statement, well, that's what you say, well, that's fine. I don't need to argue about it. I have no point to prove.